In the past, a lot of people would just receive mass-produced goods. The industry has changed so much that basically you've got to have a specialised boutique store to survive. Manufacturing, like the bigger major retail stores, they buy a whole range of products, a whole range of discounted fabrics, then dump into the industry. The problem is with that, you've got limited choice of what you can receive. So what we do at Mark Alexander Design is we can give you any shape, any size, any style, any colour to suit you. It can be a classics, it can be a contemporary. People say, okay, you just do the classics or the contemporary. We are not locked into any one particular era or one particular style. I think you'll find if you can, master the classics, you can certainly master the more simpler styles of the beiges and the off-whites. If somebody sort of says to you, oh, look, I only do this, generally it's their lack of ability or lack of ability as designer. I think as designers over the last years or so, last 10 years probably in some respects, have been forced to do very minimalistic things. The industry's changed. A lot of people want to be a designer. So it's a glamorous industry, it deems to be a glamorous industry, but it's not. You've got to have the ability to be able to twist and turn and to do any different thing, any different way. We are pretty much forced, what we're hard to have in the industry. A lot of the major retail stores, they import products out of China. You've got a set range of styles. Generally, they get it in to maximise their profits. No disrespect to them, they're paying exorbitant rents and leases and stuff like that. So then they're forced to give you what they can bring in the container or whatever they get mass produces. Pretty much like a car dealership. A car dealership is forced to have a lot of white cars on it or black cars. They can't vary out too much because they've got to buy their set allotment of cars. So they can't vary too much. Us at Mark Alexander Design, we basically can produce any colour, any shape, any style. There's a variation in time of delivery, just depending on how much detail or carving or lamellu or brass or whatever else into it. Certainly fabrics, we can produce anything in regard to that. We've got our major European suppliers. We stay away from the Chinese-based product. We provide you with a very good, long-lasting type of product. I personally haven't had any warranties over the last 10 years. The situation is you've got to know about your fabrics, what's in the fabrics, how the fabrics are constructed, how they're going to wear, when you bring the fabrics together, what's the faults. Unfortunately, a lot of people say they're designers. I got quoted recently by, I got into a car in Melbourne, a taxi driver said to me, oh, what do? You look like you're pretty stylish, what do you do? And I said, oh, look, I'm a designer. He goes to me, oh, I'm not another one. There's more of you guys than taxi drivers. And that's pretty much the industry. It has been really devastated by overpopulation of so-called designers. There's, you can probably count a dozen in Australia are actually very good designers. The rest, without being disrespectful, you're forced into a certain look or whatever else. There's some of the better ones have got more adaptable. So if you are looking for a designer, really choose what you think the designer is for you. And look, probably just a little bit of advice, don't look at just what you see. Try and read into the personality and talk to and communicate with that particular person, what flexibilities he's got, what manufacturing knowledge that person has got. There are so many different designers out there who just haven't got down to manufacturing. They do not know the depth of the chair, height of the chair, what should be, lumbar arch, what goes into the product, armrest height, stuff like that. So you really got to have somebody that's got a lot of product knowledge. It's so important to understand as a designer how it's made, because then you can sort of put that situation back into what home you're in. Okay, the person's personality, have they've got their lifestyle, what sort of colour palette they like, what variation, have they young family, kids, dogs, cats. You've got to really put the personality back into the product and build the product to the personality of the home and also the personality where it's going to live. I think a lot of designers push their products or their thoughts onto a particular client when really in some respects it should be a celebration of that particular client's personality. Home is where you live. we're going through a particular bad time at the moment, was a lot of people are in shutdown. So really, I think in some respects, every room or every space is just like a container. It's really how you can bring it to your personality. I'm not saying you have to have greens, or I'm not saying you have to have this, or I'm not saying about anything, but you can just work out what you like and find the right designer, express to them what you need, and then they can build it for you or produce it for you. Um, Purpose of designers, really, purpose of designer is to bring out your inner personality. A good designer will work out your parameters. They'll work out how far that you can go. And the secret is designing is to take it as far as you can to that parameters without tipping that client over the edge. So you've got to get to a point where that client is comfortable without taking him too far. That's a job of a designer. People sort of say to me, "Oh, Mark, but I only want that finished for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. I might want to change that." But really, if you're getting something that's your personality and your taste, you're only going to fall in love with it more and more. And if you buy the quality in the fabrics in the first place, and the structure in the items, or the structure in the chair frames, or the structures in the foams, you will not have a problem going forward. If anything, you'll just probably fall in love with it more and more and more. It really is something you've got to get right first time. I also understand that it's difficult in the industry, that people can't afford to do exquisite luxury interiors, but some people can afford to buy a luxury table or a luxury type couch. And I think it's important to do that. If you don't, you're going to end up going to some of the retailers, High Street or Chapel Street, who are basically importing a China piece. They're buying it for probably $300 or $400, selling it for $4, $5, $6. There's no frame structure in there. There's no quality of frame. The foams aren't good. There's no Asian type based foam companies that I would be comfortable using. Anything, if I deal with anything imported from some of these countries, and like we stay away from the upholstery line. I refuse to basically get into it because there's nothing structurally in the frame. You're buying a piece that's going to probably only last you 2 to 4, 5 years tops. The fabrics is going to be very ordinary. So you're really investing in something you're going to have to replace. Look, if you're getting quality foams is going to last. The fabrics are, high in viscose, polys and stuff like that. You're really not going to have any issues with it. You really should be still sitting there in 10 years' time and loving it. Generally, these type of fabrics, you pay more for them. For example, you might pay basically $4,000 for a couch in some of these stores. If you're prepared to spend $8,000, and you might say $8,000, well, you don't have to buy it again in 2 or 3 or 4 years' time. And you really will have something there that you can grow with and love. Interiors is something that is a reflection of your personality. It should be calming to you. It should be a place where you feel at home. Home is the word of somewhere that makes you content, where you want to finish work and come home to. And that's a space that shouldn't be just all white walls or all this, or if you want white walls, that's fine, but put some nice hero pieces into it, a nice table or a nice couch or a nice... You can still do something with it at all times. There's nothing you can't do with interiors. That's why I love doing it. It's my hobby. I was fortunate enough at a young age to sort of say, look, I just want to work with my hands and produce things. I love to draw. And I haven't really worked. It's always been a pleasure to do what I do. Obviously, there's obstacles in life that you have to overcome, but really in regard to saying that you're a luxury designer and getting paid for it, well, it is a pleasure. You're not really working. It is a hobby and you're getting paid for your art. To do something like this, or to do some luxury interiors, it really is great fun. The reward at the end of it is just so, it's more than money. It's basically gives you the contentment in the heart, and to stand back and look at it and see what you've done, and to see the pleasure it brings to other people's faces and to their lives.